Morning, YouTubers. Here's a little unique video today. This is my bike. It's up on its race stands right now, and I'm going to be installing something pretty exciting. This little bracket right here is for the front brake, and what it does is let me install this. It's a 4-pot Tokico caliper from a GSX-R 750, 02, 03, 01. I've got HH pads in there ready to go, and I'm going to be putting that on right now. So I'll give you some idea how I go about it. And first we have to test for fitment, make sure everything's good for the 300, because originally this was made for the 250. And then we're going to get it installed. So looking forward to showing you. And looking forward to the results. So as you can see with the original caliper, the bracket is going to go right here, using the original caliper bolts for the caliper actually, and the new bolts came with the bracket to hold the bracket on, and the new caliper will end up sitting right here and should use the stock brakes. The only concern is going to be the stock brake line. I don't know if it'll fit, and this thing might get in the way, so we're gonna have a little trouble with that. We'll find out when we get there. We might have to order a longer brake line, so we got to find that out before we can actually do the install. So let's see what happens. Let's see here. These are supposed to be on with 18 foot-pounds. Might be a little higher than that after getting tires changed. Those two out. This should slide right off. There we go. Plenty of meat on the current brake pads. Those are also HH pads from whoever. Same company. And we're going to try out this bracket now. I don't want to totally disconnect the stock caliper, so I'm going to take this bolt out here and move this bracket out of the way so I can move that one a little more out of my way and make sure fitment's good before I do anything further. So that's the next step. I can kind of move that out of the way, and since it's a stainless line, I don't have to worry about stressing the line. It's got enough to keep itself going. Okay. First step, just investigate the bracket. Looks like it's a close fit. The nut ends up very close to the disc, but it does not make contact. Block washers here. Make sure to move it up a little bit enough that you don't have that problem. Got it on there. Got a wrench for the nut and a socket for the bolt. Always best to hand tighten as much as you can before you get the socket wrench involved. We'll get those at a reasonable tightness for now. We're not worried about it. So there we go. Bracket installed. Looks kind of nice, though it might be better painted black, but it's alright. Now these stock bolts should work just fine here. Gotta make sure the pads are sufficiently spread to fit over the disc. Slide that into place. Looks good. Pull the stock one out of the way. Stock brake seems to rotor seems to clear there perfectly fine. So the next question is the brake line. Looks like it'll fit. So you might be asking yourself why put this caliper on here compared to the stock caliper, and what it really comes down to is this is a 2-piston caliper. Just nothing on the inside. This is a 4-piston caliper, so it may not give you necessarily greater stopping power, though that is the hope, is that it'll give you more controllable stopping power, and that's what really I'm looking forward to the benefits of. So that's wanted to make sure that was clear why I'm going through with this. So come back once we have the next steps done. So I'm gonna make sure this one gets fully installed, so I set this for 18 foot-pounds on. Setting is 18 foot-pounds. See? So that's what the caliper uses, so I figure it's good enough for the bracket. There you go. Beep, beep, beep. There you go. Sure that's not going anywhere. There's enough clearance on the rotor. Gotta make sure that's out of the way when I test the wheel. Yep. No problems there. Alright, stop the wheel. On to the next step. So this is going to be a messy one because I got to take the brake line off the stock caliper and then try to move it to the new one. Minimal spillage. So I did it over a rag. And ooh, it's on there tight. Alright, I got the banjo bolt off. I'm dripping into this cup down here. Try to install the line on the new caliper. Now you gotta make sure you use fresh crush washers. This shiny one might not look familiar because it came with my stainless line. It's not the stock line banjo bolt. Put one new crush washer on. Put it through fitting. Another new crush washer on the other side. And then we connect it up to the caliper. Okay, it's kind of hand tight. Make sure our socket is ready to go. Like that. A little more than hand tight just so it doesn't drip. Right against fitting there as much as possible. That'll give us maximum clearance. So the question is the brake line long enough? It's going to be very close. So you want to have your, make sure no brake fluids on your hands when you touch the bike or anything, it'll leak paint and other things. So we're going to try putting these on. Maybe there's more clearance than it looks. Again, we're just going just a little more than finger tight. Wheel still moves good. So as you can see now, I've got the all torqued up here. I got the brake line bracket reinstalled, got the thing ready to go. You have to torque that down to 14 foot-pounds. So that's what I'm going to do. He's locked for that. 14. Just a little over. Now the next step is bleeding the hoses and filling it with fluid, but I want to check clearance first. Notice here's the little rubber cap I already took off, and that's where I got to loosen up and connect the hose to drain it with. So that's the next step. Okay, so I've got the front wheel off the stand now, so now we're going to try to check for problems with the brake line. So looks like everything's okay. Still got some flex here. The other way. Axe. Still got some flex here, so I don't think there's any problems with the brake line. Everything seems good. Alright, so far it's good. Okay, so to do the fluid, we've got to first take off the fluid reservoir cap, and it looks like somebody twisted this down way too tight. And it could have been me. That was way too tight. Whoever did that in a little He-Man mode. Now these screws can even have brake fluid on them, so be careful about where they go. Now I got a rag here to protect the fairings and make sure when you pop the cap off nothing splashes like it just did on me, thankfully. Wipe anything off that gets any contact, and leave the rag there to kind of protect your instrument cluster and other things as you fill it up. I'm using Bel-Ray Super .4 brake fluid, motorcycle brake fluid. Don't use .5 unless you have certain kind of lines for that thing. Got to refill the thing. I made a little makeshift funnel so I spill less. Always put the cap back on. Expose your brake fluid to as little moisture as possible. Now one tip for those of you with adjustable levers, always adjust it so the brake lever has maximum travel. That'll save you a lot of time. If you have it closer to the handle, it's just going to take you a lot longer to drain the system. Now you got to be careful when you're priming the pump up at the top, because it does like to splash when you're getting close to good pressure. Every time you prime the piston, it does a little bubble up. Just do it softly, not too quickly, and then gentle, firm pressure as you release. You keep pressure on and continuing until you're all the way flat, and tighten. Then overnight I'll do the zip tie trick to really help firm up the pedal. Time to put the reservoir cap back on. Make sure it's pointed the right way. Alright, so we're all installed. The brake lever is nice and firm now. Ooh, very firm. Looking forward to this. So, looks like we're all set to go for a trial run with this thing. You have to take it easy at first, make sure everything's okay, but everything's feeling positive so far. So looking forward to it, and I'll be back as soon as I get on the road.